is a tough assignment that Kevin McCarthy has given you. You're outnumbered and you're in the minority, and your job is to defend the president and the Republican Party and indeed the nation against these rather overzealous partisan inquisitors. What do you make of it?
Well, Lou, it's good to be with you. And we've seen this playbook before. You know, this is where Nancy Pelosi started with her majority. Every single day from the day she took the gavel as Speaker of the House was to harass President Trump. They've done it before impeachment. They tried to build a case for impeachment. There was nothing the president did wrong. The Mueller investigation didn't yield what they thought. Then you had the whistleblower, and they thought the whistleblower was going to yield something. And then President Trump actually threw a curveball at them by releasing the transcript, something nobody expected, and it undermined their case because the transcript showed that the president did everything right. In fact, had a perfect call. And the president of Ukraine said it was a really good call and appreciated talking to President Trump. But yet they still moved on and impeached him anyway to appease their radical base. And Lou, they haven't stopped. And you can see with the creation of this committee, there are, as we pointed out, a lot of other oversight committees in Congress that already have the ability to go and look into fraud and mismanagement of funds. They're not doing any of that, by the way. And there's inspectors general. They set this committee up specifically to keep harassing President Trump and try to interfere with the 2020 election that's coming up in November. This is all about politics for November. They're wasting millions of taxpayer dollars, by the way. And the real concern, Lou, the real shame of all this is that if Speaker Pelosi was spending her time and her majority calling out China, actually holding China accountable, and by the way, helping families who still to this day are struggling with this tough economic time and trying to get businesses back open, they could actually be very effective at helping our country move forward. Instead, all they want to do is keep trying to hit and bludgeon the president and hurt him from doing his job working for the American people. The good news is President Trump doesn't let this deter him. He works hard every day for families, while Speaker Pelosi is only fighting and concerned about her political power.
There's something awfully confusing about Nancy Pelosi's speakership. She's been branded by the president as crying, nervous Nancy Pelosi. She isn't on Capitol Hill when she's needed to be working on a national crisis, the greatest emergency we've had in this country since World War II. It is the president standing tall day after day, hour after hour in the White House, leading the nation. Only a damn fool would think that the approach of the radical Dems is going to play well with anyone in this country. Your thoughts on what it means for November?
Look, I've been in some of those meetings just in the last year and a half with President Trump at the White House where Nancy Pelosi stormed out. It happened multiple times, by the way. And other Democrats stayed in the room. It's not like everybody left. And we kept conducting business. President Trump hasn't been deterred by this, but it's a shame that you don't have a willing partner that is looking out for the good of this country and the American people. They're only looking out for their own raw political power. And frankly, I think that's what disgusts people about politics. And it's backfired on them during impeachment. You saw the polling. People got fed up with their quest for personal hatred against the president and the fact that they haven't let it go even during this pandemic and can't pull together and try to work with the president to hold China accountable and to help families get back on their feet. That's what every day should be spent on. For whatever reason, Speaker Pelosi wouldn't call Congress in this week. The Senate was able to go back in. They didn't have any problems. President Trump, as you mentioned, with Vice President Pence and his whole coronavirus task force goes to work every single day. You see him out there. The president was paying tribute to our World War II veterans today with the First Lady, and yet Speaker Pelosi can't find the time to come back and fight for families. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep fighting for those families. And ultimately, I think that's backfiring on them, and it'll continue to.
It will, and their ambitions to overthrow a president who happens to be in the time in which they were trying to overthrow him, to subvert him, President Trump became the greatest president in history, achieving more in his first term than any president, and in a second term, it looks like he's going to have to do it all over again. And who better to do that, Congressman, than President Trump? Your thoughts as we wrap up?
That's why they say the best is yet to come. Look, we're in tough times. But who better to bring our country out of these tumultuous times than the president who is already rebuilding our economy and got us to be the hottest economy in the world and some of the best job numbers in the history of America. We got there already under President Trump. We will get there again. You look at Joe Biden. I mean, does anybody trust him with his hand on the helm? Look at his involvement in all of these scandals. I mean, my goodness, we're seeing every day more devastating facts come out against Adam Schiff and this Russian hoax that Barack Obama and Joe Biden were behind. I think President Trump's doing a great job and will get reelected.
Congressman Steve Scalise, always good to talk with you. Thanks for being with us.